Hi, my name is Sydney Millage. I'm a biblical counselor and I work with particularly women. Many of them have faced really difficult things in their lives and sometimes for very long periods of time. And I shared this example the other day and someone said, would you please share that and put it in a place where I could find it again? So we were talking about emotions and the fact that she used to be very stoic, just didn't express a lot of emotion, felt numb a lot of the time. And as time is passing and we're talking about some difficult things, the emotions feel very big and very raw and near the surface. And so I was describing this to her where I grew up. I grew up in Northwest Wyoming, and it's an area called the Bighorn Basin. So it's about 100 miles wide, 100 miles long, and there are, if I remember correctly, 7 mountain ranges that surround it. There's not much rain, maybe 6 inches a year. So it's very arid and very dry. But back in the day, there was a group of individuals who said if we could just gather and use the snow melt that comes off the mountains every year, we could use that to make this valley really productive. So outside of the town Cody, which is near where I grew up, they built a dam and they cleared out the valley behind the dam. And when the snow melt came down and all of the precipitation that would fall in the mountains and melt, it was gathered in that dam and or behind the dam in the reservoir. And to this day, the the gates are opened on May 15th. They're closed October 15th. Like you just know the days because that's the way life works. Like that's one of the rhythms of the land and living there. And as that water is let out, it's carried across the basin in this whole system of canals and ditches. The canals are, anywhere from like, I don't know, 12 feet wide to maybe 20 feet wide, and then relatively deep. I mean, cars turn upside down in there sometimes. That's not so great. But they were always open canals when I was a child and ditches. Many of the ditches are dirt, some are concrete, and those are smaller. They're maybe 2 or 3 feet wide and just a couple of feet deep, and they run between all the fields. And so there's this grid throughout the basin where this water is carried and it's used for growth and nourishment and things. It's just beautiful and it's amazing how it works. Everybody works together. All right, what does that have to do with emotions? When an individual has been in a really difficult place and they are not free to express themselves, they don't have the freedom to be angry or frustrated or sad, especially the negative emotions, even though there are really difficult, sometimes horrific things happening, but they don't have that freedom to express themselves. They are surviving and they make it through on survival mode. All those emotions, the reality of what has happened to them is still there. And it's caught behind this dam in kind of a reservoir of emotions. And there comes a point in time when they are safe and that door opens and these emotions come out and they may feel scary. They may feel very unusual or big or disconcerting, like this hasn't happened. I don't know what to do with these. And so I encourage women to find a way to express those emotions. That's how God made us. He made us to feel, to respond. We are created like in his image. So we aren't created to be stoic and unresponsive and robotic. What does that look like? Like, what do those canals and ditches look like? In your life, they may be different than they are in someone else's. Journaling is always helpful. I think that's true for all of us. We could do more of that, right? Communicating and writing in words, like Jesus is the word. God expresses himself in the word. So we journal, we write out the words, we use words, we look for words, we connect and begin to hear and interact with what's going on inside of us that needs to be expressed. Maybe you express yourself through art or through dance, through music, cooking, through athletic activities, and maybe it's through a phone call or talking to a friend. Prayer is another really wonderful way to express. That's what lament is. We can use God's word as a form of expression and give that back to God, and we can use that word to relate to it just, what is the word I'm looking for? It just resonates with us. And there are the similarities and the things that we are feeling that we don't know how to say to God. And in his inspired word, we find those same things being expressed. And so in that way, we find community. And in that way, we build that relationship with God, and we go to him, and we build that vulnerability and the ability to be transparent with him and then with others. So for individuals who are struggling to put words to past experience, who feel really uncomfortable with their emotions, they're not sure what to do with those, that's just a picture. And I hope that it's a word picture that will help you think about what's going on inside and how to let it out in a way that's healthy, in a way that is godly, in a way that builds you up and puts you back together again, in a way that reflects God's goodness. I'm Sydney Millage, Clarity in Action Ministries. We would love to help you and your church understand what domestic oppression is, marital oppression, how it impacts people in your church, even adults. If they've grown up in that kind of environment, it's still impacting them. So let us know if we can help. Thanks so much for your time, and I'll talk to you later. Now I've got to figure out how to turn this crazy thing off.